In the cold winter night, snow was falling all over the sky. A fat boy was running hurriedly on the deserted road. He wanted to see his lover to say goodbye for the last time before she left this beautiful city to move to Seoul to live. His heavy footsteps walked as if he wanted to hold on to the love of the young couple. The meeting place was a remote motel in the suburbs. The boy walked in, panting, calling out the name of Kang Hee, the girl he had loved for a long time. From that dark room, a gentle voice rang out. Kang Hee was sitting on the stairs waiting for her boyfriend to come. The two of them went to a more private room to talk. Kang Hee really wanted her boyfriend to leave with her, but he was confused and apologized. Kang Hee also understood that he couldn't leave his grandfather here alone and go with her, so she didn't hesitate to touch her boyfriend's fat belly and asked if he was over 100 kilos. This made Yeon-soo extremely embarrassed. After that, Kang Hee seriously suggested that Yeon-soo sleep with her. She also said that he always thought about her every time he went to bed. Hearing that, Yeon-soo immediately covered his ears and said that he didn't hear anything, but Kang Hee continued to say that she knew there were condoms in his wallet. Yeon-soo said that she clearly gave them to him. She also said that they were promotional items for this motel. Kang Hee boldly suggested that the two of them use them today. After saying that, Kang Hee touched Yeon-soo's fat belly again, but he didn't cooperate and stood up and announced that he was leaving. Unexpectedly, Kang Hee pulled Yeon-soo back and asked if she left, he would meet another girl and sleep with her, right? Kang Hee was young, so she didn't want to give the man she loved to another woman. So Kang Hee took the initiative to kiss Yeon-soo on the lips. A man's instinct could not resist such a beautiful girl. Yeon-soo asked if he slept with Kang Hee, would she leave again? But Kang Hee still insisted that she would go. Kang Hee would go to a place where no one knew her. Yeon-soo then said that everything on her face was beautiful. Kang Hee continued to ask Yeon-soo if he wanted to sleep with her. Yeon-soo didn't say anything, but responded with actions. After that, the two began to take off their clothes. Yeon-soo also took the initiative to unbutton Kang Hee's shirt. She looked at her boyfriend's warm face with regret and told him not to lose weight and not to take off his glasses in front of others. Yeon-soo didn't hesitate any longer and just used a kiss to cover up the words of first love. After the young couple had given each other their most precious things, Yeon-soo gave Kang Hee an envelope and said that her father wanted him to give it to her. Kang Hee opened it suspiciously and saw a lot of money inside, along with a handwritten letter from her father telling her to remember to use birth control wherever she went. Yeon-soo was so surprised that she burst out laughing. She didn't expect that the unexpected birth that year would make her father worry so much. After that, Kang Hee was quickly taken to the bus station by Yeon-soo. She really had to leave tonight. Farewell bus finally slowly rolled away. Yeon-soo sat sadly on the bench for a long time while Kang Hee pretended that nothing had happened. She tried to look happy and got on the bus. When Yeon-soo realized that the girl he had liked for so many years was about to leave, he tightly held the can of soda she had given him and hurriedly ran after the car until her figure disappeared. In the first snow of the season, in 2013, 10 years quickly passed by. The boy Yeon-soo, who weighed over 100 kilograms in the past, has now become a handsome man that many girls love. He is currently a veterinarian who helps people with livestock farming. The owner of the cow farm, seeing that Yeon-soo still doesn't have a girlfriend, jokingly said that in return for Yeon-soo helping him today, he would introduce Yeon-soo to a girl. But Yeon-soo immediately refused and expressed that he already had someone in his heart. Yeon-soo goes to Seoul every weekend because of her. When the farm owner asked what the girl did for a living, Yeon-soo just smiled and didn't answer. At this time in Seoul, the girl in the story was at a construction site. Kang Hee did hard work to make a living. She was also teased and ridiculed by her superior here. He thought that she was a person with a degree but could not do anything. But Kang Hee was not someone who could be bullied easily. She strongly protested and then angrily quit her job. At this time, a woman witnessed the whole thing. She approached Kang Hee and gave her a business card. The woman introduced herself as Hwang Jong-gu. She was a construction supervisor and director of Moment Design Company. She asked Kang Hee if she wanted to return to design work because she was an insider and knew that Kang Hee had worked at a design company. However, Kang Hee was not paid by the company and was blacklisted in the industry. Therefore, Kang Hee could not find a job anywhere and had to work temporarily at the construction site. But Kang Hee only refused the offer and said that she did not graduate from a prestigious school, so her application had been rejected by Moment's HR department before. Kang Hee hoped that Jong-gu would not give her more hope and then disappoint her again. However, Jong-gu tried to convince Kang Hee to come under her name this time. If Kang Hee was treated unfairly, Jong-gu would protect her. Because of this persuasion, Kang Hee decided to try again. Kang Hee brought her project documents to the company with a very confident demeanor. However, when the receptionist heard Kang Hee's name, she immediately showed a bad attitude. She whispered sarcastically to the person on the other end of the phone. She said that Jong-gu was fired from the construction site and also tried to bring a former manual laborer here. Each sarcastic sarcastic sentence severely hurt Kang Hee's self-esteem. Feeling disrespected, Kang Hee angrily picked up her bag and left. While walking on the street, Kang Hee vaguely saw Yeon-soo's warm figure. She stared at that illusion for a long time and suddenly felt a great motivation. She shouted loudly that she would return to that company because she was Kang Hee. After that, Kang Hee was determined to return to Moment Company and put on a sharp, smoky eye makeup. She put on a fearless look to face the receptionist who had just mocked her. Kang Hee confidently said that even though Jong-gu knew that I was just a common laborer, she was still curious about my abilities, and she even personally invited me here, so you will know what my abilities are after today. After saying that, Kang Hee resolutely went straight to the director's office. She saw Director Hwang enthusiastically practicing boxing to improve her physical strength. After settling down, Director Hwang immediately looked closely at Kang Hee's design file. Director Hwang happily expressed her admiration for Kang Hee's professional skills. She then took Kang Hee to meet the design manager. However, the manager did not value Kang Hee's college education. He also criticized her for doing manual labor at construction sites. Therefore, he firmly refused and said that he would prioritize the application of a candidate who had returned from studying abroad. Director Hwang was not satisfied and used reasoning to convince the manager to trust her once. She even said that she would hand over her luxury villa design project to Kang Hee. The manager reluctantly agreed on the condition that Kang Hee would be a short-term intern for 3 months. After that, they would discuss further depending on her ability. Kang Hee was very surprised and cherished this precious opportunity. Kang Hee even shyly ran after Director Hwang and asked if you liked me. This question made her laugh. She said that she only values talented people and her sexual orientation is that she only likes men. On this side, Yeon-soo is taking advantage of her vacation to go to Seoul as a habit. Yeon-soo's best friend Han-woo also feels a bit lamented when he sees this. Han-woo says that Yeon-soo shouldn't think that if he keeps going to Seoul, he will accidentally meet Kang Hee. Seoul has a population of 10 million people. Han-woo asks what Yeon-soo plans to do next after meeting her again. Yeon-soo doesn't know how to answer this question. The next day, Kang Hee follows the department head to meet the owner of the luxury villa project. The department head is very neat and plans to use expensive materials to affirm the owner's class. On the contrary, Kang Hee thinks that they need to meet person living in this villa and design the house according to the owner's wishes. Why make the owner adapt to the house? The tycoon Seok Kyung immediately agreed when he heard that because this house was a gift he wanted to give to his 2 friends. So what Kang Hee said was very much to his liking, but the manager was not happy with this proposal. He only blamed Kang Hee for making things more complicated and that she did not understand the company's working process. Kang Hee ignored the warning and insisted on staying to wait for the client's consultation. While waiting, Kang Hee went to buy a cup of coffee with Seok Kyung. Coincidentally, Yeon-soo was also at this coffee shop. He looked at Kang Hee's back in surprise for a long time. Han-woo heard the news and quickly pulled Yeon-soo to chase after her, but Kang Hee's figure had long since disappeared. Kang Hee had returned to the villa. Only then did she know about the complicated relationship between the young master and the other couple. It turned out that Seok Kyung had an engagement with Esther. However, because he had no feelings for this fiancé, he objected by running away from home. Thanks to that, Esther met her current partner. To congratulate the couple, Seok Kyung gave them this villa. After understanding the situation, Kang Hee began to consult. She carefully listened to the homeowner's ideas and preferences. From there, she sketched in her head the space that the client liked and really needed. Esther was very satisfied and immediately approved the idea. Kang Hee started working hard to complete the design, but the department head did not take her seriously. He bluntly criticized her and said that she did not understand the world of the rich, because a manual worker like her could not know what class was. In the end, Kang Hee's design was officially rejected. On the contrary, Director Hwang really liked Kang Hee's design, so the department head and Director Hwang had a conflict. The department head argued that Kang Hee's design was like the design of a B-class motel. It looked old-fashioned and cheap, but somehow Director Hwang found it beautiful. Kang Hee accidentally heard it and went straight in. She took off her name tag and openly criticized the department head that if she was B-class, he was just a bottom class. She exposed that all the beautiful things in his database were copied from the best of others. He even blatantly stole the designs of his team members, including hers. After venting her anger, Kang Hee declared that she would quit her job. Then, in the bustling crowd on the street, Kang Hee saw Yeon-soo's warm figure appear again. But this time, Kang Hee just coldly passed by. She couldn't face him when she gave up everything in her hometown and ended up as a lonely failure like this. Kang Hee sadly looked at the falling snow in front of her and remembered her childhood. Kang Hee once told Yeon-soo that she heard that if you eat 10 snowflakes, you can marry your first love. Hearing this, Yeon-soo seriously ate exactly 10 snowflakes. Then Yeon-soo expressed his wish to marry Kang Hee. Now, many years have passed. Yeon Yeon-soo still eats exactly 10 falling snowflakes. He still wants to marry his first love. Not long after, Yeon-soo's grandfather passed away. Many of Yeon-soo's friends came to his funeral. Everyone was talking about Kan-hee. Among them, the group of friends who played together with the two of them even guessed that Kan-hee would definitely return to attend the funeral this time, because her relationship with Yeon-soo's grandfather was very good. Han-woo thought that it was best if Kan-hee didn't return. He didn't want Yeon-soo to see Kan-hee again at all, because if they did, Kang-hee would only give Yeon-soo more hope and then disappoint him. Suddenly, the crowd became very noisy. Everyone said that Kan-hee had returned. Yeon-soo heard it and hurriedly walked over and hugged her first love, whom she had missed for 10 years, tightly. Looking at the figure in front of her, Kan-hee was surprised and wanted to push him away, but she recognized Yeon-soo's voice and was extremely surprised by his figure. After saying goodbye to Yeon-soo's grandfather, Kan-hee also hurriedly left. She did not stay to talk to him anymore and did not greet her old friends. Kan-hee went far away, but still remembered the gossip about her behind. It turned out that the parents here kept saying bad things behind Kang-hee's back. They said that the older she got, the more her mixed-race features faded. They wondered if her personality was still as fierce as before. They were also worried that she would go crazy and fight again. At this time, Yeon-soo ran after Kan-hee and held her back, hoping that she would stay for a meal. After thinking for a while, Kan-hee decided to stay. He happily made peace with Ah-rom, even though her best friend was still angry about her leaving 10 years ago. However, as soon as Kang-hee sat down, she heard a hateful guy nearby laughing at her. He even called the group of friends she used to play with a motel gang. This caused unpleasant memories to suddenly flood back into Kang-hee's mind. At that time, there was an orphan boy named Song-on who was always bullied by his peers. Only Kang-hee, Yeon-soo, Han-woo, and Ah-rom always stood up to protect him, and the bullies were always led by the boy. Hyun-yeol even called Kang-hee a mongrel. The little girl was angry and secretly cursed him to be struck by lightning. Unexpectedly, her prayer was quickly answered by the heavens. Now, more than 10 years have passed, and Kang-hee's strong personality has not changed. She calmly found a seat across from Hyun-yeol and reminded him of the story of him being struck by lightning when he was young. Hyun-yeol pretended to be calm and asked about Kang-hee's current job. She didn't say much, just showed him the business card of Moment Company. She revealed that she was working at a leading company in the design industry. The international class motels he knew were all managed by her company. Hyun-yeol heard that and immediately sarcastically said that people in Seoul were no better than others. On the surface, everyone looked beautiful, but in reality, they lived cramped and poor. Kang-hee said that she was better than those who only knew how to spend their parents' money and make other people's daughters pregnant and drop out of school. Hyun-yeol was so angry that he threw water straight at Kang-hee's face. She was not amused either, pouring a bowl of noodles on his head. Then she turned around and left comfortably. Because he was so angry, Hyun-yeol angrily threw a bottle of wine in Kang-hee's direction. But luckily Yeon-soo appeared in time and took her place. Yeon-soo also hit Hyun-yeol, causing the funeral to gradually become chaotic. Yeon-soo's mother blamed Kang-hee for being rude. At someone else's funeral, he was acting so recklessly. But Yeon-soo did not agree with his mother. He thought it was Hyun-yeol's fault, not Kang-hee's. But his mother did not want to say more. She only forbade her son from interacting with Kang-hee anymore. It was already late at night here, so Kang-hee had no choice but to head towards her family's California vacation home. Then she stopped for a long time in front of the door without entering. Memories of the first snow day of 2013 suddenly came back to her mind. Before going to the bus station with Yeon-soo, Kang-hee turned her head to look at this house for a long time. She told him that if she continued to stay at this motel, her future would become darker and darker like it. Maybe this place is good for him, but not for her. From now on, she will not come back here again. Returning to the present, Kang-hee decided to leave her hometown that night. She accepted to return to reality with a small and dark rented room. The next morning, Kang-hee received a call from Seo-kyung. He said that Esther was very satisfied with the design, and the two wanted to meet Kang-hee to discuss further. Kang-hee originally thought that the client did not know clearly about her resignation, so she quickly refused and hung up. However, when she sobered up, Kang-hee remembered the story when she was drunk a few days ago. She got drunk and called Seo-kyung to her place. After that, she confided to her partner that she could actually design the way the manager wanted, but it was too predictable and had no style or passion in it. Now she regrets a little for not doing so, but after thinking carefully, she thought her decision was correct. Kang-hee even laughed crazily in front of Seo-kyung. Now, thinking back to her nonsense words, Kang-hee was so humiliated that she wanted to find a place to hide. At that moment, Director Hwang called to meet Kang-hee. When she arrived at company, she found that the receptionist's attitude towards her had suddenly changed. Director Hwang also brought Kang-hee some great news. It turned out that after Kang-hee angrily quit her job, the department head had invited young master Seo-kyung and Esther to the office to present his design to the homeowner. owner. However, the two guests did not pay any attention to the department head's design. They only appreciated Kang Hee's design. The two even wanted to invite Kang Hee to be the main designer for their luxury villa. The department head was embarrassed and had no choice but to humble himself to meet Director Huang to beg. He hoped that she would invite Kang Hee back to work. He even promised to make Kang Hee a full-time employee. Later, when he faced Kang Hee, the head of the department's arrogant attitude changed. He wanted Kang Hee to consider returning to Moment Company, but Kang Hee only gently replied that she had recently realized that life was short, so she needed to work with people she loved. After saying that, Kang Hee turned around and left with great confidence. This made even Director Huang admire her. After that, Kang Hee decided to take advantage of the opportunity as a freelance designer to sell the design to Seo Kyung. The young master did not disappoint Kang Hee. He immediately paid her a large sum of money. Although Kang Hee was happy inside, she resolutely refused to accept the money. She expressed that her talent being recognized was much more important than money. This attitude of Kang Hee conquered Esther, the owner of the villa. She even wanted to befriend Kang Hee and invited Kang Hee to her private wedding. A while after, returning to her room, Kang Hee received a call from Ah Rome. Ah Rome happily said she was going to Seoul and asked if she could stay at Kang Hee's place. Kang Hee lied that she had to go on a business trip and wouldn't be in Seoul for a while. Ah Rome didn't expose the truth, but she knew that Kang Hee was hiding something. Ah Rome told Yeon Soo that she called Kang Hee's company, but the company said there was no employee named Kang Hee. Yeon Soo didn't think much of it and just believed that Kang Hee had her own troubles. Yeon Soo comforted Ah Rome and told her to sympathize with Kang Hee. Not long after, Kang Hee attended the bride Esther's wedding. Kang Hee saw Esther in a beautiful wedding dress and couldn't help but imagine herself walking down the aisle with the groom Yeon Soo by her side. After regaining her senses, Kang Hee started to congratulate Esther. Then Kang Hee said goodbye and left the wedding. As soon as Kang Hee stepped out into the hall, she ran into Director Huang. Director Huang announced that she had officially quit her job at her old company. Therefore, she really wanted to invite Kang Hee to work for her. Director Huang seriously told Kang Hee to consider this offer. A moment later, while Kang Hee was still focused on drawing the design of the space in front of her, she suddenly caught Seo Kyung's eye. Seo Kyung politely invited Kang Hee to attend the wedding party tonight, but Kang Hee quickly refused because today was not only Christmas, but also a special day for Kang Hee. Her memories took her back to the years before. Every year, Kang Hee's father personally goes to Seoul to meet her to celebrate her birthday. He even combines his lunar birthday with her solar birthday. He said that this would be their date. Even though they are far apart, they must celebrate their birthday together. Kang Hee suddenly wakes up and receives a birthday greeting call from Ah Rome. Kang Hee happily thanks her. They talk for a while. Then the conversation turns to Yeon Soo. Ah Rome just tells Kang Hee to ask about him herself. Then Ah Rome reveals that Yeon Soo seems to be going on a date tonight. Kang Hee feels empty when she hears that. She decides to call Yeon Soo immediately, but unfortunately, there is a girl's voice on the other end of the line. Kang Hee is disappointed and quickly ends the call, making Yeon Soo feel very regretful. Then Kang Hee receives a call from her father. He happily tells her that he will send her the address tonight, just like every year. Kang Hee was in a bad mood, so she just wanted to refuse. She lied that she would celebrate this day with her boyfriend this year, but her father, who understood her daughter's personality, just said that if she already had a boyfriend, she should bring him to see him. Before Kang Hee could say anything more, her father hung up. That night, Kang Hee went to the meeting place alone. There, Kang Hee coincidentally met Seo Kyung. A moment later, Kang Hee suddenly asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend. She said that there was a man who wanted to claim ownership of her, and she wanted him to help her end it. Seo Kyung did not refuse. He even let her hug him intimately to pretend to be a real couple. However, after arriving, Kang Hee soon regretted it because the person in the room was not her father but her first love, Yeon Soo. Yeon Soo also immediately recognized the man next to Kang Hee. It turned out that 10 years ago, not long after Kang Hee left her hometown, Yeon Soo often came to Seoul to look for her. He searched in vain, but finally accidentally saw her working at a convenience store. At that time, she was arguing with the boss about unpaid wages. At that time, Seo Kyung was a customer who happened to pass by and heard the story. Seeing the injustice, Seo Kyung immediately stood up to help Kang Hee and taught the evil boss a lesson. A while later, Kang Hee also saw Yeon Soo, but her pride did not allow her to show weakness. Kang Hee walked up to her best friend and coldly told Yeon Soo to never come to Seoul to find her again. Yeon Soo saw the man standing next to Kang Hee from afar and was in a state of great turmoil. After that, Yeon Soo soon realized that all Seoul men were handsome and stylish. Even Han Woo said that two people from a poor countryside like them looking for Kang Hee would definitely make her feel embarrassed. That's why she chased them away like that. Thinking that, Yeon Soo started to lose weight. He wanted to wait until he became handsome before meeting his first love again. From then on, he gave up soda and threw away all instant noodles and snacks. He persistently exercised with high intensity every day. Finally, thanks to his intense love, Yunsu successfully lost weight. Time passed quickly. Currently, with his handsome appearance, Yunsu thought he was worthy to be with Kang Hee. However, when he saw Kang Hee walking in with another man in her arms, Yunsu's face immediately became disappointed. Realizing that, Kang Hee quickly pulled Seok Kyung away. Seok Kyung was very confused, but then he smiled and gave Kang Hee his business card. He said he wanted to invite her to join the design team of his motel. Kang Hee didn't say anything, but resolutely turned around and left. She also angrily called her father to confront him, but her father explained that Yunsu had something important to tell her, so he did that. Kang Hee did not accept her father's explanation. She coldly asserted that her father had just ruined their last Christmas together. Kang Hee then decisively hung up. At the same time, Yunsu was still sitting alone and sad at the motel. When he opened the door to leave, he saw Kang Hee. She immediately threw herself into his arms, which surprised him. After that, he made her a cup of hot tea and honestly expressed his thoughts. He had eaten the first 10 snowflakes of the season and had prepared everything to be with her forever. He could also go to Seoul to live with her. Kang Hee was embarrassed and avoided Yunsu's eyes. He also took out a necklace to give her for her birthday, but Kang Hee pretended to be angry and said that he should have given this to his girlfriend. Yunsu conveniently affirmed that he had no one else, that he would only like her in this life. Hearing that, Kang Hee could not deny her excitement. She stood in front of the mirror, putting on the necklace, her face unable to hide her shyness and blushing. Yunsu walked closer to Kang Hee and gently took her hand. He looked at her with eyes full of love and even intended to kiss her. But just then his phone suddenly rang. The caller was Yunsu's mother. While waiting for Yunsu to answer the phone, Kang Hee began to recall the painful memories of the past. She remembered the neighbors around the village where she used to live. She remembered the sarcastic words and contemptuous looks of everyone, including Yunsu's mother. Those thoughts caused Kang Hee's attitude to suddenly change. Kang Hee turned back to tell Yunsu that she remembered the reason why she had to leave home, as well as why they could not be together. Kang Hee then quickly took off the necklace and returned it to Yunsu. She tried to act strong and said that in the future he should give this to his girlfriend. Then, she resolutely turned around and left. Yunsu painfully said that if she left today, he would not wait for her anymore. However, Kang Hee still resolutely walked forward. Although she acted cold, as soon as she reached the lobby, Kang Hee burst into tears. She believed that if she could not take responsibility for someone else's life, she should not make them wait any longer. Kang Hee just walked alone in the cold night. At this time, Yunsu was at the police station to bail out his mother and stepfather. It turned out that his mother had been beaten by her new husband, to the point that the neighbors had to call the police to arrest this man. However, Yunsu's mother still blindly justified that her husband was like that only when he was drunk, and that on normal days he was naturally gentle and affectionate. Yunsu advised her mother a lot, but she wouldn't listen. She still felt very happy being with this man. Another year passed. The poor countryside was still bustling and warm. Kang Hee was alone in cold Seoul, only knowing how to hide in a small rented room. On the morning of the first day of the new year, Kang Hee had to eat dry bread to continue living. After that, she quickly went to find Director Huang to apply for a job. She offered Kang Hee a salary of 30 million won to work for her company. Kang Hee was very satisfied with this offer. However, when Kang Hee heard that the niche market was the motel design field, she immediately refused and left. As soon as she reached the door, Kang Hee immediately called Seok Kyung and asked him about the previous cooperation offer, but coincidentally he was also nearby. At the same time, he also had the same reasoning as Director Huang, wanting to renovate the motel. The two of them also planned to build a famous company in this industry together. He curiously asked Kang Hee why she agreed to the motel offer but not the motel. Kang Hee was unhappy and said that as the son of a motel owner, he wouldn't understand. Only the daughter of a motel owner would deeply understand this. She had lived in a motel since she was young, and what did she have to endure? When others looked at her, a motel is not really a place to rest. It is just a place for people to hide and hide. Kang Hee still firmly refused to cooperate, but that night, Kang Hee received 50 million won transferred by Seok Kyung. After that, Esther personally came to Kang Hee's front door to find her to confide in. A while later at a cozy bar, Esther did not directly mention work but focused on encouraging Kang Hee. She praised Kang Hee for her successes. Esther also sincerely listened to Kang Hee's deepest desires. Kang Hee honestly shared her burning dream. She wanted to one day build a company with her name on it. She also wanted to have a nice house right next to the company where she could enjoy her own private space. Esther responded with understanding that in order to make that dream come true, she thought Kang Hee needed to choose her partners wisely. According to Esther, Director Huang was a prestigious and reputable person in the industry. Seok Kyung had abundant financial resources, and Esther was always someone Kang Hee could trust. Finally, Esther made a sincere offer that she hoped Kang Hee would join her in building this company. She didn't do it for anything else but Kang Hee's Hee's own dream. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo's mother was rushing to sell the family hospital building. When Yeon-soo heard the news, he immediately ran over and firmly stopped the sale. He invited the people who came to see the house and his stepfather out. He told his mother that he had promised his grandfather that he would never sell the building. His mother complained that she needed money to maintain her life because she had returned the rented house after the incident at the police station. Yeon-soo looked at his mother helplessly and asked her to come live with him. But his mother immediately refused, saying that she had just gotten married, so how could she live with him? Yeon-soo had no choice to give in and tell his mother to just move in, and he would temporarily move somewhere else. He then quickly packed up and moved to Motel California. On this side, Kang-hee started a new journey in her career when she joined a design company. Under the guidance of director Hwang, Kang-hee actively contributed her opinions and expertise. She and the members of the team built the foundation for her long-standing dream. One day, Seok-kyung and Kang-hee went to survey an old motel together to plan a renovation. While examining the space, the two of them unexpectedly witnessed a hot scene. Hyeon-yeol was hugging and kissing a girl in the elevator. After that, as soon as he returned, Hyeon-yeol told his friends about this. Hyeon-yeol said that Kang-hee went to the motel with a strange man during the day. Hyeon-yeol also sarcastically said that he was not surprised that Kang-hee was that kind of girl. After all, her family ran a motel, so she was like that. That's why family education is very important. Yeon-soo couldn't keep calm when he heard these words. Yeon-soo grabbed Hyeon-yeol by the collar and threatened that if you dared to say anything bad about Kang-hee again, I would beat you to death. Although Yeon-soo had deterred the hateful person, he was still sad. In the following days, Kang-hee was assigned the role of managing a new project. Director Hwang assigned Kang-hee a big responsibility, so her enthusiasm was overflowing. However, when Kang-hee knew that the project location was Hana-il, which was also her hometown, all the positive emotions in her suddenly disappeared. So in the following days, Kang-hee tried every way to avoid the offer to Hana-il. Kang-hee even ignored Director Hwang's promise to double her commission. Kang-hee also used the excuse that she had an appointment to refuse to continue talking to Director Hwang. Standing from afar, hearing that Kang-hee had an appointment, Seok-kyung couldn't help but worry. He secretly followed her, but he found out that the date that Kang-hee was talking about was a girl. This person was none other than Ah-rom. Seok-kyung knew that he had misunderstood Kang-hee, so he quickly went to help her. He even enthusiastically wanted to help Kang-hee's best friend carry her luggage into the house. Then Kang-hee shared about her current life. She was really living well now. This house was also the company's dormitory. She was also one of the founders of the company. Ah-rom was very happy for Kang. Ah-rom also curiously asked about current relationship between Kang-hee and the enthusiastic guy from earlier. Because Ah-rom could confirm that he liked Kang-hee, the conversation turned to Yeon-soo again. Ah-rom revealed that he had met someone suitable, a junior from the same school. It seemed that they were also thinking about getting married. Hearing this news, Kang-hee tried to hide the sadness in her heart, but her eyes could not hide it. At this time, Yeon-soo was teaching his junior Nan-woo to drive a pickup truck at her request. While practicing driving, Nan-woo almost crashed into a car going in the opposite direction. She was so scared that she couldn't get out of the driver's seat by herself. So Yeon-soo kindly hugged her out of the car to calm her down. But the people who got out of the car on the other side were Kang-hee and Seok-kyung. Kang-hee saw Yeon-soo hugging another girl. She smiled and quickly turned around to leave. But in fact, her eyes were red. Not long before, Kang-hee had a haunting dream. Yeon-soo had a big and happy wedding with his junior. Kang-hee also clearly saw that the other girl only cared about Yeon-soo's assets. In the panic of the dream, Kang-hee rushed to grab her hair. But when Kang-hee woke up, she found that she was holding Ah-rom's hair. Kang-hee realized that she still had feelings for her first love. Kang-hee decided to go to the company and proactively asked to work at Hana-il. Coincidentally, Director Hwang was injured and could not go there in person, so Kang-hee took this opportunity to officially accept the project. Kang-hee and Seok-kyung went to Hana-il. The two of them wore designer clothes and drove an expensive car to go back to their hometown. When getting in the car, Kang-hee carefully told Seok-kyung not to call her by her name. Seok-kyung was also very considerate when she decided to call Kang-hee boss throughout the trip. After that, the two of them quickly arrived at Hana-il, but Kang-hee was surprised when she realized the place she was going to was her family's California motel. Although she was a bit surprised, Kang-hee still had to stay calm. She quickly covered herself and pretended not to know anyone. However, how could a father not recognize his beloved daughter? Chun-pil tried to hold back his laughter and not reveal anything. Then Seok-kyung spoke first. He came up with a novel idea to erase the boundary between motel and hotel. They just needed to remove the letter M from the word motel, and the new brand name would be Hotel California. Kang-hee also suggested building a swimming pool on the top floor and moving the bar in the basement up there. Hearing this, Kang-hee's father was deeply moved. The designs his daughter had just described were their old dreams. Chun Pil had almost forgotten about this, but Kang Hee still remembered it clearly. He shook hands with his daughter and decided to hand over the design project to her company. Kang Hee didn't say anything and just walked out quietly. Memories quickly returned to her mind. Back then, Chun Pil often turned off the light of the letter M in the word motel because he had told his daughter that his biggest wish was to build a hotel. So when he removed the letter M, people would only see it as hotel. At that time, there was no longer any distance between motel and hotel. Currently, Motel Boomerang is also a new construction project of Chun Pil's family. Kang Hee and Seok Kyung personally visited the construction site. The construction manager immediately suggested that the two of them should stay at Motel California across the street because this place was a great place to rest. It was close, clean, and the breakfast was delicious. However, Kang Hee shook her head and said that staying nearby was a bit inconvenient, so they quickly left. On the way to another place to stay, they almost collided with a truck going in the opposite direction. When Kang Hee looked closely, she discovered that the person getting out of the opposite car was Yeon Soo and a strange girl. Yeon Soo immediately let go of the girl in her arms and hurriedly chased after Kang Hee. Yeon Soo asked Kang Hee with concern what she was doing here. Kang Hee frankly said that she would be here for work until Christmas, and she told him not to reveal her return to anyone. Then she left in a bad mood. Seeing Kang Hee sadly walking on the street, Seok Kyung realized that Yeon Soo was Kang Hee's first love. But Kang Hee replied that Yeon Soo was not only her first love but also the person who saved her life. Memories began to take Kang Hee back to her elementary school years. At that time, Kang Hee was often bullied by her classmates until one day Yeon Soo transferred to Kang Hee's class. Kang Hee saw Yeon Soo from afar as a chubby and healthy boy. She thought that he could help her fight against the bullies, so she took the initiative to ask to be his deskmate. Thus, their fate officially began. When they grew up, Yeon Soo confessed to Kang Hee and said that he had liked her since the first day they sat at the same desk. Even though he knows he's ugly and has many shortcomings, he will try to improve. Hearing that, Kang Hee pinched Yeon Soo's cheeks and affirmed that he wasn't ugly or lacking at all. She also called him a silly bear. Kang Hee thought that if Yeon Soo wasn't in her life, then whether she was 10 or 20, everything would be a mess. Hearing that, Seok Kyung joked that he would find the people who bullied Kang Hee in the past to deal with them. Hearing that, Kang Hee couldn't help but laugh. Although Kang Hee had told Yeon Soo not to say anything about her return, Hana Up was small and news spread easily. The women at the hair salon were always gossiping. They guessed that the reason Kang Hee suddenly returned to her hometown was because of Chun Pil or because of the motel. Boomerang was also her family's business. The hair salon owner also said that she didn't understand why Chun Pil got rich so quickly. Whoever marries Kang Hee in the future will definitely be happy. Yeon Soo's mother, who was sitting nearby, heard these words and said nothing. Rom quickly revealed to them that Kang Hee's boyfriend was even more amazing. He was a returned international student who was not only handsome and young, but also the heir to a chain of high-end hotels in Seoul. This information made the people around them admire. Meanwhile, Kang Hee and Seok Kyung were tiredly looking for a place to rest after a long day of work at construction site. Although they had been in Hana-yu for a few days, their experience was always miserable. If it wasn't the musty smell of the blankets or the unpleasant rusty smell of the shower water, then the noisy guests made it impossible for Seok Kyung to sleep. In the end, Seok Kyung bravely suggested that the two of them stay at the California motel, but Kang Hee firmly shook her head and refused. She would rather drink rusty water than set foot there. At the California motel, the workers were talking about the new female supervisor. They said that although this girl was difficult, she was very generous. If they did well, she would reward them a lot. Yeon Soo heard and knew that this person was Kang Hee. Hanwoo was curious if person accompanying her was her boyfriend. Hanwoo hoped that it wasn't because there were rumors that he was a gambling addict and that he often went to drug farms. This made Yeon Soo even more worried and uneasy. Meanwhile, Kang Hee secretly went to Yeon Soo's veterinary hospital after work to meet the female doctor, Nanwoo. Kang Hee looked closely and had to admit that this girl was very beautiful. Nanwoo thought that Kang Hee was a customer coming to consult on adopting a pet, so Nanwoo invited her to sit down and drink chrysanthemum tea. Nanwoo also said that although the owner here never drank tea, he often bought expensive chrysanthemum tea just for a friend. Kang Hee suddenly understood that the friend being mentioned was her. After that, Nanwoo kept praising Yeon Soo. She thought he was a trustworthy and dependable man. When Kang Hee saw the photo of Yeon Soo and Nanwoo taken together in front of the hospital gate, she was silent for a long time, and her eyes gradually became sad. At this time, Yeon Soo was driving a pickup truck following Seok Kyung's car. Yeon Soo witnessed Seok Kyung stopping the car on the side of the road to rescue a small dog that was stuck. Yeon Soo also went to help and promised to treat the dog. In return for the help, Yeon Soo wanted to ask Seok Kyung a question. Is Kang Hee often wearing glasses because of a black eye? Seok Kyung laughed and affirmed confirmed that Kang Hee is not the type of person who can stand being bullied. When Yeon-soo returned to the hospital, Nan-woo accidentally showed him a video of a customer petting a cat at the hospital. Yeon-soo recognized the guest in the video as Kang Hee. He rushed to the construction site to find her, but she wasn't there. He asked Ah-rom, but she didn't reveal anything. Kang Hee was actually hiding in a bar. She was drinking while thinking about Nan-woo. To be fair, this girl had nothing to complain about, and she even got along well with Yeon-soo. Thinking of this, Kang Hee could only drink and cry. At the same time, Yeon-soo was watching the video about Cat again and received news that Kang Hee was at the bar. He immediately went there. Kang Hee was so drunk that she fell asleep on Yeon-soo's lap. She even found a comfortable position on his lap. Yeon-soo had to work hard to control herself. That night, Yeon-soo had no choice but to carry Kang Hee back to the California motel. Yeon-soo carefully covered her with a blanket. However, Kang Hee suddenly grabbed his shirt and told him not to leave. Yeon-soo didn't leave and chose to stay by her side. Kang Hee opened her eyes dreamily and pinched Yeon-soo's cheeks. She also called him a silly fat bear. She blamed him for not keeping his promise. Why did he lose weight and take off his glasses, and why did he go on a date with another girl? Yeon-soo also heartbrokenly blamed her for finding another man. At this time, So-kyung was worried because Kang Hee had not returned, so he searched everywhere and even went to the police station to report. When he received news that Kang Hee was taken to a California motel by a gang, So-kyung became even more panicked. He immediately came here and shouted for her. Witnessing this scene, Yeon-soo hurriedly explained that this was Kang Hee's house and Chun-pil was her father. Hearing that, So-kyung was still suspicious for a long time. The next morning, Kang Hee woke up with a heavy head. She was embarrassed when she remembered the crazy things she had done last night. As soon as she opened the door, Kang Hee was startled to see So-kyung sitting slumped in front of the door. It turned out that there were only men around, so So-kyung had been sitting there last night to keep watch. Then the two of them went down to have breakfast together. After the workers and So-kyung left, Kang Hee sat down and chatted with her two close friends. She listened to the changes in the motel during the years she was away. After work, So-kyung took Kang Hee to Yeon-soo's veterinary hospital to visit the dog he had helped the day before. However, Kang Hee's eyes kept looking at Yeon-soo and Nan-woo. From Nan-woo, Kang Hee knew that the kitten at the hospital was named Kam Hee. The name Yeon-soo gave it was almost the same as hers. Kang Hee silently left with an indescribable sadness. On the way back, So-kyung commented that Yeon-soo and Nan-woo were a beautiful couple. Hearing that, Kang Hee felt extremely resentful. She went to an ice cream shop to relax, but there she saw Yeon-soo and Nan-woo happily buying ice cream together. Kang Hee quickly hid and found a hidden corner to remember the sweet memories with Yeon-soo 10 years ago. That day, the one who always joked and chose ice cream with him was Kang Hee. The one who acted spoiled with him was also her. Kang Hee stood up and left, then found a quiet corner to cry. Kang Hee cried and scolded Yeon-soo for being a bad person, saying that who had said that from now on, whether eating ice cream in a box or ice cream, he would only eat it with her. At this moment, Yeon-soo suddenly appeared. Kang Hee angrily said that he had really changed. Just as Yeon-soo was about to go towards Kang Hee to explain, she forbade him from following her. But Yeon-soo felt that something was wrong, so he quietly followed Kang Hee all the way. Only when Kang Hee turned around did Yeon-soo quickly hide. However, when she didn't see Yeon-soo behind her, Kang Hee felt even more disappointed. She was sad and began to regret saying goodbye at the hotel. At this time, So-kyung came to find her and saw Kang Hee in tears. So-kyung took his limited edition sunglasses and put them on Kang Hee. Thanks to So-kyung, Kang Hee finally stopped crying and smiled. But Yeon-soo, standing from afar, was a bit sad. When Yeon-soo returned to the motel, he put the box of ice cream he bought that morning on the reception desk and asked the receptionist to deliver it to Kang Hee. Yeon-soo talked to the cat, Kam Hee, that before. Only he could comfort Kang Hee to make her happy, but now it seems different. Why did she say he had changed when he had only waited for her before? When he left the room, his friends brought a shirt with Kang Hee's name written on it and asked him to take one to wear. Because tonight, Chun-pil and his friends were planning to hold a party to welcome Kang Hee back. The red carpet was laid out on the rooftop. Friends happily welcomed Kang Hee back. As she sat with her old friends, memories of the past flashed before her eyes. In the past, Kang Hee always stood up to teach anyone who dared to bully her friends. She even considered her friends as her second family. That's why people in Hana-yu still call her friends the Kang Hee gang. Now Kang Hee asks about her grown-up friends one by one. When it was Yeon-soo's turn to share, he seemed very satisfied with his current life. He thought that inheriting his grandfather's veterinary hospital was extremely meaningful. Friends also asked Kang Hee about life in Seoul. Kang Hee hesitated to answer and quickly avoided going somewhere else. Then Ah-rom took the opportunity to remind Yeon-soo that So-kyung was already by Kang Hee's side. If Yeon-soo was moved, he might have to suffer more because of Kang Hee in the future. Kang Hee also told So-kyung about her past 10 years ago. She decided to leave her home hometown and go to the capital. After that, she earned money by doing all kinds of jobs to get into a college. At that time, she thought she had lived her life to the fullest for her dream. But today, she saw that her friends were all living well in their hometown and she was the only loser. Seok-kyung heard that and shouted loudly to cheer Kang-hee up. He said that she had lived very well. Seeing that, Kang-hee couldn't help but laugh. The next day, Nan-woo received a call from a customer. They asked her to come and examine their cow. They had no experience treating large animals. Nan-woo was extremely confused. Plus, she couldn't drive a pickup truck. Luckily, Kang-hee was nearby and helped in time. She even took the initiative to drive Nan-woo away. When they arrived at the farm, the owner was extremely worried when he saw that the female doctor seemed inexperienced. At that moment, Yeon-soo appeared and cooperated with Nan-woo to solve the problems. On the way back, Kang-hee couldn't help but remember the happy moments of the two of them just now. Kang-hee became even more depressed. She also accidentally saw a billboard advertising the upcoming beef festival. Returning to the hotel, Kang-hee expressed to Seok-kyung her concern that if the festival started, the road here would be temporarily blocked. For 4 days, concrete mixers would also not be able to enter the construction site, affecting the construction progress. Kang-hee also emphasized that she wanted to finish the project quickly so she could return to Seoul. But Yeon-soo accidentally heard this. Yeon-soo just secretly thought, what's so great about Seoul? Later, thanks to Ah-rom's story, Yeon-soo and her friends knew about Kang-hee's difficulties. In order to help Kang-hee, Yeon-soo had to hold a meeting with the villagers. He convinced everyone to change the location of the festival. He also promised to provide free medical treatment for the village's cows for a month. After Yeon-soo successfully convinced the villagers, he went to each farm to talk and persuade each owner. Kang-hee had no idea that Yeon-soo was trying to help her. She also went to each farm to try to persuade the farm owners to change the location of the festival. One of the farm owners was an old acquaintance of Kang-hee's. He had said bad things to her. He said that her father was not just a small motel owner in the countryside. Her father chose to live like that because of her. He even rejected the mayor's daughter and the district chief's daughter just to marry an ordinary woman like Kang-hee's mother. This made Kang-hee very angry. So in order to get revenge, Kang-hee tried to lock this uncle in the warehouse. Until now, he still holds a grudge from the past. This time, he asked Kang-hee to compensate and kneel down to apologize to him. Kang-hee didn't know what to do when suddenly Yeon-soo appeared and stood up to stop and pull Kang-hee away. However, Kang-hee refused his help. She angrily said that she didn't like him because he knew all about her past and the trauma in her. Just seeing him brought back unhappy memories that made her heartbroken. Not only Yeon-soo, Seok-kyung also helped Kang-hee by convincing the Senior Citizens Association. He volunteered to donate public funds and sponsor the celebration party after the beef festival ended. At the same time, Yeon-soo and his friends went to meet the traffic police and posted a notice to change the festival location. Everything was considered done. Kang-hee was also very grateful to her friends. Later at the beef festival, Nan-woo held Yeon-soo's mother's arm and appeared in front of Kang-hee. Yeon-soo's mother did not hesitate to praise Nan-woo. She also said that Nan-woo was a gentle and agile girl. Everyone around also said that Yeon-soo and Nan-woo were a couple born for each other. Kang-hee could only smile awkwardly to congratulate Yeon-soo and his mother. Yeon-soo's mother thought Seok-kyung was Kang-hee's boyfriend, so she also congratulated Kang-hee on finding a suitable boyfriend. Seok-kyung was about to explain when Kang-hee pulled his hand away. After that, Kang-hee also asked Seok-kyung to pretend to be her boyfriend until the project was completed. But Seok-kyung did not agree and had one condition. When the festival gradually cooled down, Yeon-soo tried to approach Kang-hee with the desire to clearly explain the relationship between him and Nan-woo. However, Kang-hee did not seem to want to listen. She quickly interrupted him and mentioned the bad neighbors. At that moment, Nan-woo appeared with an innocent expression and talked to Kang-hee like two close sisters. She even hugged Kang-hee to thank for helping her a few days ago. Kang-hee was confused and found an excuse to leave. Kang-hee kept thinking about Nan-woo's innocence and felt extremely sad. Kang-hee secretly thought that maybe Nan-woo was the one who was really suitable for Yeon-soo. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo was also very tired about this. Turned out that he had talked seriously with Nan-woo before. He hoped that she would stop working at the hospital because rumors about the two of them were spreading everywhere. But Nan-woo did not agree. She even thought that they should pretend to date for a while longer. Because of that, she would not have to listen to reminders about going on blind dates. However, Yeon-soo did not want that. He frankly said that he liked someone else and was waiting for that person. Now that the festival was almost over, Yeon-soo's mother discovered that her newlywed husband was being intimate with another woman. She was so angry that she flipped the table and cursed him right there. He did not give up and cursed her back, causing the scene to gradually become chaotic. People stood around to watch. Kang-hee's father also stepped forward to advise. This scene accidentally caught Kang-hee's eyes. Suddenly, she she remembered her mother's sickly face. Now, when talking privately with her father, Kang Hee wondered why her father had always been so nosy when it came to Yeon-soo's mother's affairs. It was the same more than 20 years ago. Her father kept thinking about her, but what about her mother and her unborn younger sibling? However, her father just remained silent like before. Kang Hee returned to the motel with sadness. At this time, receptionist brought her a cup of ice cream without saying anything. Kang Hee ate a spoonful and realized that only Yeon-soo could buy this flavor of ice cream for her. Thinking of something, Kang Hee immediately went to Yeon-soo's room in the motel. His room was filled with pictures of the two of them when they were young. There was also a warm teddy bear that Kang Hee hated and wanted to sell. Looking at that teddy bear, memories from 10 years ago came back. Before leaving her hometown for Seoul, Kang Hee asked Yeon-soo to help her sell the teddy bear that her father gave her. The money could be used to take care of abandoned animals. Returning to the present, realizing that Yeon-soo probably never liked anyone else, Kang Hee ran everywhere looking for him. With hopeful eyes, she asked him why he kept treating her so well. Did he still like her? Unexpectedly, Yeon-soo said that being nice to her was the only thing he could do. If she doesn't want to, then consider this the last thing he does before he stops liking her. He hopes she will give him some time to forget her. After that, Kang Hee returned to the motel alone. Kang Hee angrily threw the ice cream box that Yeon-soo bought for her into the trash. She thought to herself that their relationship was really over. Why did she keep holding on to a faded feeling? That night, Kang Hee accepted Ah Rom's invitation to the restaurant to attend the class reunion. It was said that Seok Kyung generously paid for the entire party. He didn't even forget to leave his unlimited black card before leaving. In the noisy atmosphere of the class reunion, her classmates had the opportunity to mock Ah Rom. They criticized her over and over again. She went on countless dates but still couldn't find a decent guy. She was just a small librarian but kept dreaming of studying. What was the point of her studying for a master's degree and then a doctorate? Sungmin, who was sitting nearby, couldn't stand it anymore, so he stood up and pulled Ah Rom away. Kang Hee didn't feel any better either. She didn't want to stay any longer, but as soon as Kang Hee returned to the motel, she saw Yeon-soo's mother there with Nan-woo. The villagers were gossiping about her son's marriage. Kang Hee was already unhappy, so she found a quiet place in front of the door to think alone. While Kang Hee was deep in thought, Nan-woo and Yeon-soo walked out. They still kept a cheerful and friendly attitude and greeted Kang Hee, but Kang Hee didn't want to respond. She silently went straight inside. On the way back, Nan-woo suddenly advised Yeon-soo to go find Kang Hee because she could see that Kang Hee was the girl Yeon-soo had always loved. Meanwhile, Kang Hee was still angry. She cleaned the bathroom while scolding him. Even though she knew she was wrong, he had liked her for 20 years, but couldn't he bear a few months of separation? She had a hard time living in Seoul. If he agreed to come to Seoul, she would of course start over with him, but he liked Nan-woo. At this moment, Yeon-soo returned to the hotel and heard Kang Hee talking to herself in the next room. He stood outside the door to eavesdrop, but unfortunately, he was noticed by the receptionist. So even though he didn't want to, he had to go into his room. But until midnight, Kang Hee still didn't stop talking. Yeon-soo in the next room thought that Kang Hee was on the phone talking to her boyfriend. He was annoyed thinking about the prospect of Kang Hee hugging Seok Kyung and introducing him as her husband. And Yeon-soo was just someone who belonged to Hana Yuk and the staff. Nan-woo, Seok Kyung even fought with Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo woke up with a start and realized that he had had a dream last night. The next morning, Kang Hee came to Seok Kyung to return the bank card and reminded him not to do that again. Hearing that, Seok Kyung happily told her what happened yesterday. Yesterday, he made up a story. He said that she had lived very successfully in Seoul, and he had to pursue her for a long time to get her approval. As long as she agreed now, he would be willing to marry her. As a result, everyone's faces were filled with anger. Seok Kyung happily said that this time, as her boyfriend, he had helped her get revenge. It turned out that yesterday, Kang Hee had asked Seok Kyung to pretend to be her boyfriend, but Seok Kyung wanted him to be Kang Hee's official boyfriend until the project was completed, because only then would the two of them have a fair relationship. So in the present, Seok Kyung wanted to ask his official girlfriend out, but she just said she was very busy and refused. Kang Hee then searched for the mementos that Yeon-soo's grandfather had left her. Even though he was Yeon-soo's grandfather, to Kang Hee, he was no different from her grandfather. Every piece of paper and every line contained the love and blessings that he had given her. Kang Hee carefully put them in a box and then went to the veterinary hospital hoping to see Nan-woo. However, Nan-woo seemed hesitant and evasive. She said that perhaps the answer Kang Hee was looking for was not within her. So, Kang Hee had to ask Yeon-soo directly about Nan-woo. Kang Hee really wanted to know if Nan-woo grew up in a happy and loving family. Yeon-soo nodded without hesitation. He said that it was probably true. Then Kang Hee invited Yeon-soo to visit his grandfather's grave. In front of his grave, Yeon-soo also had the opportunity to express his thoughts. He said that he could endure all the pain and resentment over the years. Only Kang Hee Hee couldn't hold back his emotions. Kang Hee also honestly shared that she came here today to fulfill her promise to his grandfather. She took out a box of couple rings and told Yeon-soo that this was the gift that his grandfather wanted to give him. It turned out that 10 years ago, Yeon-soo's grandfather had given this ring box to Kang Hee. He hoped that she would give it to Yeon-soo's future girlfriend. Yeon-soo's grandfather also hoped that his granddaughter-in-law would be a girl who smiled a lot and grew up in a loving family. Now Kang Hee confessed that the real reason she came here was not for the project, but to see if Yeon-soo's girlfriend met the criteria that his grandfather had set. Kang Hee thought that a girl who smiled and was cute like Nan Woo would be truly suitable for Yeon-soo. As for her, she could never become that kind of girl. After saying that, Kang Hee forced a smile and turned away, but tears could not be held back and fell down her face. Perhaps her first love had really ended here. Kang Hee's words made Yeon-soo extremely heartbroken. Memories came back to him one by one, from the image of Kang Hee strongly leaving Hanayup 10 years ago, to her painful eyes in the present. Every moment of Kang Hee's joy and sadness now returned to Yeon-soo's mind. He quickly stood up and ran after her, hugging her tightly from behind. He apologized, because now he truly understood the pain she had endured all these years. Kang Hee then confided that no matter how hard she tried, she could never become the girl his grandfather hoped for. That was also one of the reasons why she always tried to push him away. Yeon-soo realized that the ring was the cause of everything, so he immediately threw it into the river. Kang Hee panicked and jumped into the water to find the ring, but Yeon-soo quickly stopped her. He also admitted that he had no feelings for Nan Woo. Suddenly, Kang Hee lost her balance and Yeon-soo hugged her. Kang Hee was confused and pushed Yeon-soo into the river, making both of them wet. So on the way back, Yeon-soo had to take off his coat and put it on Kang Hee. At the same time, he began to explain that the rumors about his relationship with Nan Woo were just the villagers' speculation. Returning to her room, Kang Hee smiled involuntarily. When she remembered Yeon-soo's explanation, she confirmed that person she loved still didn't have a girlfriend. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo looked at the photo of Kang Hee when she was young and imitated the innocent smile of the little girl in the photo. The next day, Kang Hee was surprised to see director Hwang at the California motel. What surprised Kang Hee even more was that she was wearing a pair of beautiful high heels, even though she had just had her cast removed. Director Hwang also said that today she would meet a man named Chun Pil. Kang Hee was so surprised that she couldn't speak. Director Hwang also told her that she had given this man's eldest daughter a very warm teddy bear. Hearing this, Kang Hee was completely shocked. After that, Kang Hee tried every way to badmouth the man named Chun Pil. Kang Hee thought that his reputation was nothing, and she hoped that Director Hwang would reconsider. However, in Director Hwang's eyes, Chun Pil had always been a luxurious and romantic gentleman. It wasn't until Sok Kyung told the truth that Director Hwang knew that they were father and daughter, and she was also very surprised. Kang Hee angrily returned home with the intention of throwing away the teddy bear. But Yeon-soo suddenly appeared and stopped her. In anger, Kang Hee recounted the heartbreaking story from many years ago. At that time, because Chun Pil could not be found, her mother was taken to the hospital late, so she had a miscarriage and her sister was not born. Until now, Kang Hee still clearly remembers that terrible night. From that day on, Kang Hee started calling her father Chul Pil directly. She felt that he was just a womanizer and irresponsible. Kang Hee also told Yeon-soo that the woman next to her father on the night her sister died was his mother. Therefore, regardless of whether it was her father or his mother, she could not forgive them. Hearing these words, Yeon-soo remained silent and did not respond. Kang Hee also decided to return to Seoul with director Hwang. Yeon-soo stood in the room, hesitating for a long time, and finally he helplessly watched the person he loved pack up and leave. When she returned to Seoul, Kang Hee felt completely comfortable and free, but somehow her mind kept wandering around the name Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo was no better. He looked at the photos taken with Kang Hee when she was young, his heart full of thoughts. Sok Kyung was still stubbornly living in a motel in California. He even deliberately talked to Kang Hee on the phone in front of Yeon-soo. He pretended to ask Kang Hee very intimate questions. The following day in Seoul, Kang Hee was in a meeting and couldn't concentrate. After that, Kang Hee had an appointment with Esther to talk. Through this meeting, Kang Hee was awakened by Esther that the feeling that lasted longer than love was friendship. That was the eternal feeling, like the friendship between her and Sok Kyung. Hearing that, Kang Hee decided to return to Hanayup to see Yeon-soo. After that, she seriously suggested that instead of trying to forget each other but missing each other even more, they should just be friends. Kang Hee then took out a box of ice cream and said that she wanted to share it with Yeon-soo as a friend. A moment later, Yeon-soo entered Kang Hee's room to get her spoon to eat the ice cream. Kang Hee was uncomfortable, so she told him to use another spoon. What friend would eat ice cream with the same spoon? Unexpectedly, Yeon-soo suddenly bent down and gave her a kiss. He even seriously asked if she could really be friends with him. He didn't want to just be friends with her. Then, he gradually made the kiss more intense. Kang Hee didn't refuse refuse anymore. She accepted to be honest with both her body and heart. While the two were immersed in a sweet kiss, Chulpil's familiar voice rang out from outside. He told his daughter to open the door for him. Kang Hee panicked and quickly pushed Yeon-soo away and told him to hide while she hurriedly cleaned the room. Later, while Kang Hee was talking to her father, Seok-kyung suddenly appeared. He even tried to barge into Kang Hee's room. However, Kang Hee quickly pulled him away. But in her mind, the intimate image between her and him just now kept appearing. She was worried whether he was angry with her or not. When Kang Hee returned to the room, Yeon-soo had already left. At this time, Yeon-soo in the next room also kept thinking about Kang Hee. He recalled the passionate kiss just now. At this time, Kang Hee called to meet Yeon-soo. After that, the two of them made a date on the rooftop. Here, Yeon-soo once again asked Kang Hee if she could be friends with him, but perhaps that kiss proved everything. Kang Hee still firmly denied it. She thought that the kiss was not a big deal, so they could still be normal friends. She also asked him if he had never done that with anyone since that night. Hearing that, Yeon-soo could only helplessly reply that if he had known she would leave, he would never have slept with her. Was it true that the first time meant nothing to her? Kang Hee objected and said that it was different then than now. Now, if the project was finished, she would still leave, and he would still stay in Hanayu. So let's stop. Yeon-soo helplessly looked at the girl he loved and had no choice to say yes. In the following days, Yeon-soo deliberately turned away every time he saw Kang Hee. Even when Kang Hee took the initiative to go to Yeon-soo's veterinary hospital with the excuse of drinking chrysanthemum tea, Yeon-soo just coldly made tea and told her to finish drinking it and leave quickly. This made Kang Hee disappointed. But when she saw Yeon-soo going out without a scarf, Kang Hee thoughtfully bought him one. She even brought it back to hang in front of his room, but later she saw him return it in front of her room. Kang Hee angrily knocked on Yeon-soo's door. She blamed him for being impolite. Yeon-soo angrily told Kang Hee to give the scarf to her boyfriend. Now Yeon-soo was like a hurt child. He even resolutely turned around and left. The next day, Nan-woo went to the construction site to ask Kang Hee and Seok-kyung to help her build a cage for the donkey that had just been transferred to the hospital. As soon as she saw Seok-kyung, Yeon-soo felt hostile. The two men immediately engaged in an underground war, from fighting over sawing wood to constantly attacking each other with words. Witnessing the scene, Kang Hee had no choice but to intervene. She quickly helped them design the donkey cage. She also took advantage of specialized tools and her professional techniques to complete the project quickly and beautifully. Nan-woo had to open her eyes wide in admiration when she saw it. Kang Hee just smiled slightly and explained that because she wanted to have her own house, she had been constantly researching and knowing over the years. Of course, in the design of the future house, there was a living room reserved for Yeon-soo. These sincere words not only did not move Yeon-soo, but he indifferently replied that maybe one day he would bring his wife and child to her house. This made Kang Hee angry. Kang Hee put her arm around Seok-kyung and lied that they had a date tonight, so she would leave first. As the night grew late, Yeon-soo was absorbed in reminiscing about her childhood memories. He still clearly remembered the day Kang Hee drew a house in the snow and the promise that she would build a shelter for the two of them with a separate room for Yeon-soo. The sadness rose up and made Yeon-soo seek alcohol to relieve herself. At the bar, Yeon-soo also saw Seok-kyung sitting at the same table with a strange girl. The two of them were even casually feeding each other. Yeon-soo couldn't hide his annoyance, so he immediately went up to Seok-kyung and asked her directly about the woman next to him and whether Kang Hee knew about this relationship. Esther knew there was a misunderstanding, so she quickly explained that the two of them were just friends. She was married and pregnant with her first child. Even Seok-kyung was surprised when he heard that. He hugged his best friend and congratulated her. After Esther left, Seok-kyung and Yeon-soo continued drinking. The two of them began arguing about who was better to Kang Hee. Seok-kyung confidently declared that in this world, as long as it was something Kang Hee wanted, he could fulfill it. Yeon-soo laughed when he heard that and thought that the person who wasn't often around Kang Hee but still thought about her was a truly good person. Every time he goes to temple or church, he prays for Kang Hee's happiness. Seok-kyung immediately refutes. He believes that Kang Hee's happiness cannot be entrusted to the gods. Instead, he will personally bring her happiness. Seok-kyung also adds that Kang Hee is someone who doesn't like anyone to know about her past, and this is a weakness that she cannot overcome. The two of them argued fiercely and gradually became so drunk that they didn't know anything. When they woke up, Seok-kyung was surprised to find that he was hugging Yeon-soo sleeping on the bed. Both of them were shocked and swore that they had not done anything bad to the other person. After calming down, Seok-kyung expressed his desire to be friends with Yeon-soo. After a while of hesitation, Yeon-soo shook hands with Seok-kyung, but in his heart he still considered Seok-kyung a rival. After that, Yeon-soo and Seok-kyung went to the construction site where Kang Hee was working. Yeon-soo told Kang Hee that they should be friends like Seok-kyung and Esther. He even reached out to shake hands with Kang Hee. Seok-kyung quickly quickly pulled Kang Hee back and helped them shake hands while wishing their friendship would last forever. Nanwoo unexpectedly received a flower basket and concert tickets with the sender's name as Yeon-soo. Moreover, the theme of the concert was, "Do you want to marry me?" This made Nanwoo extremely worried. She immediately complained to Arom about whether Yeon-soo saw her as a replacement. When Yeon-soo heard about the flower basket and concert tickets, he quickly went to his mother. He asked why his mother did that on her own. His mother calmly replied that she needed him to speed up the marriage process. She was about to remarry. After hearing that, Yeon-soo could only helplessly leave. When it got dark, Kang Hee accidentally met Nanwoo and found out that the bouquet of flowers she was holding was given by Yeon-soo. Kang Hee was not very happy and congratulated Nanwoo on her happiness. But then when Kang Hee turned away, she couldn't control herself and kicked the can of water under her feet. Song Yeon originally intended to give flowers to Arom, but then stopped. He had to give the bouquet to Kang Hee to handle. Just then, Yeon-soo appeared. His eyes were fixed on the bouquet of flowers in Kang Hee's hand. He was about to turn around and leave, but Kang Hee called him back to scold him. She was about to say that he had never bought her flowers, but after a moment of hesitation, she changed her mind and told him not to give her flowers or his girlfriend would be jealous. The next day, the construction work was going smoothly, and Kang Hee also decided to return to Seoul for a few days. But unexpectedly, on the bus, she happened to see Yeon-soo sitting here. Yeon-soo quickly explained that he had some things to take care of in Seoul. After that, the two of them chatted awkwardly. Yeon-soo asked Kang Hee how her life was in Seoul. Hearing that, Kang Hee couldn't help but sigh. To her, Seoul was like a wet cookie with no flavor. Then she suddenly recalled childhood memory of the two of them. Back then, in their hometown, there was a guy who sold cookies. Every time they saw him, Kang Hee and Yeon-soo were worried that his cookies would have problems. During the rainy season, the two of them worried that he would get wet, and during the hot summer, they were also afraid that the cookies would spoil. Right now, Seoul in Kang Hee's eyes was like a wet cookie in the rainy season. The two of them talked until the car started moving. Kang Hee felt sleepy and put her head on Yeon-soo's shoulder. Seeing this, Yeon-soo pulled her to lean on his shoulder. After a while, Kang Hee woke up. She promised that she would find a way to repay him for lending her shoulder to sleep on. Yeon-soo replied that she would show him around Seoul. Yeon-soo also suggested that the place he wanted to go was Kang Hee's company. When the two got off the bus and took the subway, Yeon-soo showed that he knew more about the subway in Seoul than Kang Hee. Then the two of them had dinner together as friends. Before the meal, Kang Hee tied her hair up. Seeing that, Yeon-soo couldn't take her eyes off her. After eating, Kang Hee invited Yeon-soo to visit her dormitory in Seoul. Looking at the spacious and warm room before her eyes, Kang Hee couldn't help but feel proud. She had to live very hard and had stayed in all kinds of boarding houses, from a damp basement room to this large room. Yeon-soo gently patted Kang Hee's head and said that she had worked hard. He also encouraged her that even though she said Seoul was a damp cookie, she had successfully overcome all 4 seasons there. That moment made Kang Hee extremely emotional. She couldn't help but whisper to him. She asked him if it was okay for friends to kiss. Yeon-soo couldn't answer, so she finally pushed Kang Hee away. He reminded her that friends don't kiss because it's too far. Kang Hee also came to her senses and suggested that the two of them drink together like friends. Then she stopped by a convenience store to buy alcohol. Kang Hee's eyes suddenly caught sight of a box of condoms on the shelf. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo at home had just discovered that the light bulb was broken. He quickly called Kang Hee and hesitantly asked her to buy it for him. However, Kang Hee misunderstood him and quickly took a box of condoms. She thought to herself that the two of them really understood each other. When she got home, Kang Hee realized that what Yeon-soo wanted to buy was a light bulb. She was embarrassed and lied that she thought he wanted to buy cup noodles. Yeon-soo didn't think much about it and quickly ran to the convenience store to buy the light bulb, but his eyes were also attentively looking at the condom box on the shelf. When he got home, Yeon-soo quickly changed the light bulb. Kang Hee saw it and was a little moved. She naturally looked at his sexy Adam's apple. After changing the light bulb, Yeon-soo took out a flashlight. He sat down on the sofa next to Kang Hee and suddenly asked her if she wanted to sleep with him. Kang Hee was motionless and remembered the day they said goodbye 10 years ago. At that time, Kang Hee also asked Yeon-soo a similar question. Now she was startled to realize that he was just joking. Kang Hee pinched Yeon-soo's cheeks like before. After a few moments of intimate joking, Yeon-soo quickly went to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and told himself that he and Kang Hee were just friends. However, after that, the two of them drank together and started to get drunk. At this time, Yeon-soo suddenly pulled Kang Hee into his arms and said that if she liked him more than before, he would gain weight again. Kang Hee was not shy at all as she touched him all over and said that in the past, all of this was flesh. Yeon-soo could not hold back anymore and approached Kang Hee with the intention of kissing her, but Kang Hee quickly avoided him and made an excuse that she wanted to go to the bathroom. When she sprayed perfume and came out, she saw him lying unconscious on the floor because he was drunk. Kang Hee suddenly felt angry. The next morning, Kang Hee woke Yeon-soo up with an annoyed expression. Yeon-soo sat in the bathroom and kept blaming himself for being drunk and not being able to take the next step with the person he loved. Later, when Yeon-soo went out for breakfast, he accidentally met Seok-kyung. He was confused when he saw Yeon-soo at Kang Hee's house. He even guessed that the two had slept together. Yeon-soo even deliberately admitted it, causing Kang Hee to quickly explain that the two had not done anything. But Seok-kyung was still very concerned, so he finally went to Esther to confide in her. Esther knew that Seok-kyung was jealous of Yeon-soo, so she kept praising Yeon-soo in front of him. She thought Yeon-soo was handsome and very manly. Seok-kyung angrily affirmed that he would definitely win Kang Hee's heart. After finishing breakfast, Kang Hee got in the car alone because Yeon-soo had another job. Suddenly, when she was in the car, Yeon-soo knocked on the door and pulled her out. He also said that he wanted to stay in Seoul for another day with Kang Hee. He wanted to see if things would be different if he had gone to Seoul with her that day. Meanwhile, in the countryside, Yeon-soo's mother received a text message from him saying that he couldn't go to the performance with Nan-woo. At the same time, he also sent a similar message to Nan-woo. His mother panicked and ran to the veterinary hospital to hear that he had gone to Seoul since yesterday. She rushed to the construction site and also knew that Kang Hee had left Hanayup since yesterday. At the same time, Kang Hee was leading Yeon-soo to visit the small, narrow room in the basement where she had lived during her poor days. Then the two of them lay on the small bed in front of them. Kang Hee lay on the edge of the bed and almost fell to the ground, but Yeon-soo caught her in time. On the narrow bed, the two of them hugged each other like lovers. At this moment, the landlord knocked on the door. The two of them quickly sat up, embarrassed, hiding their feelings. After visiting the house, the two of them went to the mall to play all kinds of games. Yeon-soo easily won every game. He also gave Kang Hee a cute teddy bear. The two of them even took a photo together, having a lot of fun. However, the joy was always short-lived. Kang Hee received a call from her best friend, but on the other end of the line was Yeon-soo's mother's voice. Yeon-soo's mother loudly scolded Kang Hee and did not allow her to be with Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo's mother asked Kang Hee to give the phone to Yeon-soo. While Kang Hee didn't know what she did wrong, Yeon-soo immediately pressed the call rejection button. Yeon-soo's mother went to Kang Hee's father and said that his daughter seduced her son. She also said that she had her reasons for doing so. That year, she also warned him to absolutely not let Kang Hee's mother and her husband meet, but he trusted her and said that they weren't that kind of relationship, and in the end, the two of them fell in love and ran away together in the middle of the night. If it hadn't happened, she and Yeon-soo's father would have been happy until now. Chun-pil frowned slightly and apologized, admitting that it was all his fault. The young couple's trip to Seoul quickly stopped. Kang Hee couldn't help but feel guilty when thinking about Yeon-soo's mother's anger, but Yeon-soo reassured her with a firm promise that he would explain carefully to his mother. As soon as they got off the car, as expected, his mother rushed over angrily, but Yeon-soo quickly pulled her mother back and tried to protect Kang Hee. The next day, Nan-woo discovered that the flowers and tickets were sent by Yeon-soo's mother. Suddenly, she couldn't help but feel disappointed. Nan-woo suggested to Yeon-soo that they clarify their relationship. However, Yeon-soo said that she should give him more time. When Kang Hee finished her work and left the village, he would explain, because he didn't want the villagers to blame Kang Hee for their breakup. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo's mother kept complaining to Chun-pil at the California motel that she didn't want Yeon-soo and Kang Hee to love each other. So in Hanayup, people would gossip about her son. Chun-pil just gently asked her why she cared for her son so much. So why did she give her son all the responsibility of taking care of grandfather before? While she was busy with divorces several times, did she know that her son had asked for leave of absence several times to take care of his sick grandfather? Yeon-soo's mother immediately became angry and asked Chul-pil if he remembered what he had promised her. That day when Yeon-soo's father passed away, Chul-pil told her to live her own life. He would take care of Yeon-soo's grandfather for her. Yeon-soo's mother asked if he felt guilty for marrying that promiscuous woman, so he made that promise. Yeon-soo's mother even concluded that Kang Hee was just like her mother. Hearing this, Chul-pil could no longer keep his composure. He loudly said that she was not worthy of being a mother. While everyone was gossiping about the children, parents like them should have sympathized with their children, but she was still speaking cruelly to them. Chul-pil continued to ask her if she thought her children were suffering more than her. How long would she continue to be so capricious? Rumors about Yeon-soo and Kang Hee's relationship spread quickly throughout the village. The neighbor even came to advise Chun-pil to stop the two children. The best way was to send Kang Hee back to Seoul, or they had to find a way for Yeon-soo's mother to marry somewhere else. Heon-yeol even gathered his friends to support Yeon-soo's mother. The villagers filed a complaint against the construction site Kang Hee was in charge of for causing noise, resulting in the temporary suspension of the project. In such a tense situation, Kang Hee did not intend to respond but planned to return to Seoul. Before leaving, leaving, Kang Hee had a serious talk with Yeon Su's mother. But the very first sentence Yeon Su's mother said insulted Kang Hee's mother. She said that Kang Hee was unfortunate to have such a mother. Kang Hee was angry and immediately spoke up to refute and said that if my mother stole your husband, then I will steal your son to make it reasonable. Yeon Su's mother was so angry that she could not keep calm. At this time, Yeon Su suddenly appeared. To avoid Kang Hee from being hurt, he quickly took his mother away from the motel. That night, Kang Hee sat sadly alone in the park. Seok-kyung came from somewhere and gave her a gift box. Then he told her to take advantage of him to have a rumor bigger than the one she was facing. Yeon Su was equally sad. He remembered his father's accident years ago. At that time, Kang Hee was also present at the scene. She was also the one who fainted after witnessing that horrifying scene. The next day, Yeon Su asked his mother out for dinner. She thought that her son had changed his mind, so she was very happy. But Yeon Su remembered what happened that year. At that time, Yeon Su's father and Kang Hee's mother had taken the two children out together. The two were happy like friends, but Yeon Su revealed that he had always liked Kang Hee's mother's personality. Now he honestly said that back then, he often wished that Kang Hee's mother was his mother. He also liked her more than his mother. Because of this thought, when he grew up, he always let his mother torture his emotions. He refused to follow Kang Hee to Seoul. He called the strange uncles that his mother brought back dad for his mother's sake. He thought that was the punishment he had to bear for not being able to truly love his mother. But now he thought he had paid all his debts, so he decided to go back to Kang Hee. He would not be friends with her anymore. After making it clear to his mother, Yeon Su quickly ran to find Kang Hee. He pulled her into a small alley and then couldn't help but kiss her passionately. He bravely suggested that they date each other. In the past, he lived to make everyone around him happy, but this time he would listen to his heart. From now on, he would only make her happy. Hearing these warm words, Kang Hee smiled and kissed Yeon Su. Then she hugged her man tightly. A moment later, Kang Hee happily returned to the motel, but she suddenly remembered something and quickly called. However, the other end of the line did not pick up. It turned out that the person Kang Hee wanted to call was Seok-kyung. He did not pick up because he was busy planning his grand proposal. Kang Hee was confused and texted Seok-kyung, but she took forever to type the message and did not know how to start the conversation. When Yeon Su came to find Kang Hee, she told her boyfriend that she had received Seok-kyung's engagement necklace. It turned out that Seok-kyung had given Kang Hee a necklace before and had specifically told her to accept it and that he would make a special plan so that they could continue the construction. At that time, Kang Hee thought that creating this rumor was nothing, so she agreed. After hearing the story, Yeon Su just smiled lightly and kissed Kang Hee. Yeon Su said he was very happy because he knew that between her and Seok-kyung, it was just a work relationship. Yeon Su once again intimately kissed his girlfriend. He was very happy because today was their official first day, but Kang Hee whined that today was not their first day. Kang Hee asked Yeon Su that when Seok-kyung came back here, she would return the necklace to him, and then the two would officially be in love. Okay. Although Yeon Su was unhappy about having to wait, he quickly held Kang Hee's hand and agreed. So the next morning, Kang Hee and Yeon Su secretly exchanged affectionate glances. Suddenly, Kang Hee received a call from Seok-kyung. He wanted to ask her out to a place. Kang Hee curiously walked out of the motel when a stranger immediately came up and gave her a rose. That person also guided her in the direction they pointed. Kang Hee followed and came to a place where a red carpet was laid out and many people were waiting with eager faces. Kang Hee immediately wanted to run away, but a boy held her back. The boy led Kang Hee to meet Seok-kyung, who was singing her heart out amidst everyone's applause. Seok-kyung then knelt on one knee and took out a ring to propose to Kang Hee. Seok-kyung's proposal made the crowd go wild. Seok-kyung also had a fleet of trucks and public buses drive around to add to the grandeur of the proposal ceremony. Yeon Su stood next to Kang Hee, not knowing what to say. When it was evening, Yeon Su stopped by a jewelry store. He showed her the necklace that Seok-kyung gave Kang Hee and asked the store owner if they had anything similar. However, the store owner just shook his head, saying that if he wanted to remake it, it would be very expensive. If Yeon Su wanted to buy this, he thought it would be more reasonable for Yeon Su to buy a house. Hearing this, Yeon Su seemed to have more motivation. Ah Rome also shared the story with her close friends. Nanwoo thought that Yeon Su was shocked after Seok-kyung's billion-dollar proposal. That night, Seok-kyung found out about everything and went to see Yeon Su privately. After a few drinks, Seok-kyung questioned Yeon Su why he had changed like that when he said he would only be Kang Hee's friend. Yeon Su shook his head and said that he couldn't be friends with her, even though he had tried very hard. He wanted to be the one to protect Kang Hee when she was sick. Later, he also wanted to have a beautiful daughter like Kang Hee. After hearing all these sincere words, Seok-kyung silently finished his glass of wine. Seok-kyung promised to withdraw on the condition that Yeon Su would not hurt Kang Hee. Yeon Su happily returned to the motel to tell Kang Hee the whole conversation. Kang Hee also confessed that she had told Ah Rum about their love love story. At this time, on the rooftop, Arom also shared the story with her close friends. Although a bit surprised, everyone supported Kang Hee and Yeonsu's decision, so the very next day, when the new couple went on a date, the close friends all voluntarily helped the two avoid the eyes of the gossipers. But then, the affectionate moments of Kang Hee and Yeonsu were captured and reached Seokkyung. Looking at these photos, Seokkyung could not hide sadness. Esther saw her best friend's mood, so she quickly tried to comfort him. She said that how could Kang Hee ignore someone as wonderful as him? He laughed and said that no matter how wonderful he was, she didn't need him. Esther seriously confessed for the first time that she didn't like arranged marriages, but that didn't mean she didn't like Seokkyung. Then Esther confided in her unborn child in front of Seokkyung. She told her chill that your mother's first love was heartbroken. She also told her child to comfort him. Then Esther took Seokkyung to the mall to buy baby stuff. But while the two were choosing stuff, Seokkyung suddenly saw Esther's husband being intimate with another girl. The two were also buying baby stuff. Seokkyung angrily rushed over and punched him. Esther ran over from afar and quickly explained that this girl was just her husband's cousin. Esther's husband reminded Seokkyung that he was the one who shouldn't be close to other people's wives. At this time, Yeonsu and Kang Hee were on a private date. He made her breakfast with yogurt, which made her very happy. During that time, Yeonsu said that he didn't want them to be secretive like this. He suggested that they just accept everyone's curious eyes and hold hands openly. Kang Hee smiled and agreed. Then the two went to a jewelry store to choose rings together. Yeonsu told Kang Hee to choose the most expensive one there, but Kang Hee only chose a very simple and delicate ring. The two intimately put the rings on each other and even took souvenir photos. Their intimate scene accidentally caught the eyes of two neighbors. These two women quickly brought the story they saw to find Nan Woo. They expressed regret that Nan Woo was betrayed by Yeonsu, even though Nan Woo had explained many times that two of them had no relationship and that the previous events were all just rumors. On this side, Kang Hee and Yeonsu returned to the motel, but Kang Hee did not want to go back to her room alone. She immediately pulled his hand and told him to come to her room for a while. He also smiled and agreed. Before entering the room, he looked around for fear that someone would find out. Then Kang Hee hurriedly wanted to turn off the lights. She wanted to do something meaningful with him, but Yeonsu was worried and turned on the lights because he was afraid of being seen by others. Sure enough, at that moment, someone knocked on the door. It turned out that Arom had brought her mother to the motel. Arom wanted to ask Kang Hee to let her mother stay for a night. After Kang Hee arranged everything for Arom and her mother, the friends sat down and started talking about their lives. Arom said that she was very tired of her mother's story. Her mother refused to divorce until her mother saw her get married. Yeonsu also took the opportunity to confide that his mother had not contacted him for several days. Sungwon continued in frustration that his mother had left him at this motel and gone. Kang Hee laughed and said that you guys are fighting over who to tell the story. Her mother left her here and ran away and then unfortunately passed away. After a while, thanks to the encouragement and warm hugs of their friends, they both felt somewhat comforted. After that, Kang Hee called her father, but the other end of the line faintly heard Director Hwang's voice. Kang Hee helplessly sighed, not knowing that her father was in the hospital. Director Hwang was just visiting him. Chun Pil returned to the hospital room alone. He looked at the patient in the next bed, happily chatting with his daughter on the phone. He tried to smile awkwardly, but inside he was extremely sad. He remembered the image of his wife a long time ago. After a few days of losing contact, Yeonsu's mother was suddenly brought home by a man. This man politely gave Yeonsu his business card and explained that he happened to meet her, so he brought her home. After the man left, Yeonsu asked his mother about the man's background, but his mother was still angry and did not bother to answer him. At this time, Kang Hee had to temporarily return to Seoul for a few days. She hugged her boyfriend and said that she did not want to leave him even for a minute. After returning to Seoul, Kang Hee went to the company to meet Seokkyung. She officially returned the necklace he gave her. Seokkyung appeared sad and tried to be cold to Kang Hee. When Kang Hee confided in Esther, she thought that this time Seokkyung had met someone he really liked because she had never seen him like that before. After that, Kang Hee took Esther home on the way. Unexpectedly, when entering the parking lot, Esther saw her husband hugging and kissing his cousin. Esther was so shocked that she quickly took out her phone to record the scene. After that, perhaps because she was too shocked, the baby in her womb was affected. Kang Hee immediately drove Esther to the hospital. At this time at Hana-Yu, neighbors came to advise Kang Hee's father to advise his daughter because she had accepted the proposal of a guy in Seoul and even took advantage of the time when this man was not here to date Yeonsu. Even Yeonsu's mother went to Kang Hee's father and asked him to stop this love affair. Chun Pil calmly agreed. He said that Kang Hee had a rich boyfriend in Seoul, so she accepted his proposal and went to Seoul to live happily. Why would his daughter date Yeonsu and be gossiped about by the people in this village? After all, his daughter in Seoul was a top designer. What good would it do her to go back to her hometown and meet a veterinarian? Chun-pil's sarcasm made Yunsu's mother embarrassed and speechless. That night, Kang-hee returned to the village from Seoul. Chun-pil seriously asked his daughter if he said he wasn't dating director Hwang. Could she break up with Yunsu? This question surprised Kang-hee greatly. After a while, Chun-pil also asked Yunsu to come to his private room to talk. Although Chul-pil didn't say it directly, Yunsu realized that he was against their relationship. Yunsu then sadly talked about this with her girlfriend. However, Kang-hee decided not to care. The two would definitely go to Seoul together. Before leaving, Kang-hee accidentally met Yunsu's mother. She cried and said cruel words to Kang-hee. Yunsu's mother said that Kang-hee would suffer the same miserable fate as her mother. The sentence made Kang-hee suddenly remember a few days ago when she and Yunsu looked at a photo of them when they were young. In the photo, there was both Kang-hee's mother and Yunsu's father. Kang-hee looked at the photo and smiled, confiding that at that time, she wished Yunsu's father was her father because he always made her mother smile. Yunsu also confessed that he had the same thought when he was young. While talking, the two felt a bit guilty. Perhaps since then, Kang-hee and Yunsu had been their accomplices. Back to the present, when the two were on their way to Seoul, Kang-hee was in a state of confusion. She even imagined an accident and urged Yunsu to stop the car. Yunsu was flustered and couldn't brake in time. At this time, at the California motel, Chun-pil received an urgent call from the hospital, so both Yunsu's mother and Kang-hee's father rushed over. Luckily, Yunsu was fine, and Kang-hee was only temporarily unconscious due to panic. Yunsu's mother kept hitting her mouth as she looked at Kang-hee lying there. She thought that she had said cruel words that caused Kang-hee and Yunsu to get into trouble. She worriedly called Kang-hee to wake up. Fortunately, Kang-hee opened her eyes soon after. Chun-pil took Kang-hee back to the motel. He sat by her bed all night to take care of her. Kang-hee suddenly asked her father why he didn't come that day. Chun-pil apologetically explained that he couldn't come that day because of an important promise. He apologized to her because he was so wrong at that time. After sitting alone for a while, Chul-pil remembered the story from more than 20 years ago. Even though he knew that his wife and daughter were still waiting for him to leave Korea for her hometown in California, he was still busy demanding back the money he had been scammed. That money was to help them return to America. Kang-hee and her mother waited until night, but they didn't know that Chun-pil was arrested and sent to prison for causing trouble. Kang-hee also always remembers a night more than 20 years ago. She witnessed Yunsu's mother sobbing. She was curious and followed Yunsu in his father's car. Then the two children saw the bodies of Yunsu's father and Kang-hee's mother with their own eyes. Now Kang-hee's memories are only vague images of when she ran away from her mother's accident. She discovered that there were many memories that she seemed to have forgotten. That year, Kang-hee went out early in the morning. Yunsu immediately rushed to find her. Only when he found her did he breathe a sigh of relief. Kang-hee saw her boyfriend and said that he seemed to have come here to find her. Yunsu was worried, but then confirmed that it was not true. Then he hugged her tightly to comfort her. At this time, Ah-rom was very upset with the man in front of her. He said that he was very busy, but he still came to her workplace to invite her to eat. Because she didn't like his attitude, Ah-rom refused outright, but he rudely dragged her into his car. Just then, Sung-yeon appeared and said he wanted to take her away. Ah-rom confided in Kang-hee about this. She said that she had no feelings for the men she was introduced to, but her father kept forcing her to marry successful men. Kang-hee just advised Ah-rom to try to confront him, just like she and Yunsu did. Hearing this encouragement, Ah-rom decided to take Sung-yeon to meet her mother. However, Ah-rom's mother slapped her in the face. Ah-rom's mother even turned around and blamed Kang-hee for dating a hotel heiress, but she encouraged Ah-rom to date an uneducated orphan and manual laborer. Faced with this criticism and contempt, Sung-yeon didn't argue. He just apologized and left sadly. That night, Kang-hee took the initiative to find Sung-yeon and gave him a comforting hug. She also asked him if he wanted to go to Seoul with her. However, he firmly refused. Then, he suddenly remembered his childhood many years ago. Sung-yeon was abandoned by his parents at Kang-hee's family motel. Even though he was an adult, he still didn't have a birth certificate or an official name. There was only a letter left with the content, "Your parents will come back to pick you up." So at the police station, Chun-pil decided to adopt the boy. Chun-pil wanted to give Sung-yeon a home until his parents returned. Since then, Kang-hee also considered Sung-yeon as her younger brother. Now when he remembers, Sung-yeon said that he still had to stay to wait for his biological parents to return. Although he knew that the wait was hopeless, Sung-yeon then took out a precious photo, a photo of him and Kang-hee's mother when they were young. He was moved when he said that Kang-hee's mother once told him to call her mom. Kang-hee looked at her mother's picture and was very emotional. She blamed herself for always refusing to take pictures with her mother when her mother asked. Early the next morning, Kang-hee and Yunsu were sweet together like every day. Kang-hee announced that she would go to Seoul today and then mentioned Seok-kyung. She said that thanks to him, she had more time to stay here. Yeon-soo felt a little jealous. After hearing that, he wanted to know if Seok-kyung had any feelings when he proposed the other day. Kang-hee also joked that yes, of course she did. Hearing that, Yeon-soo became even more jealous. He threatened that if she didn't come back soon, he would hold a public proposal like that when she returned. While talking, the two introverts laughed. When they returned to Seoul, Kang-hee continuously blamed Seok-kyung because he had always made mistakes at work recently. After a while, Kang-hee quickly realized that Seok-kyung's distraction was not because of her, but because of Esther. Seok-kyung said that he was suspicious, so he investigated Esther's husband and found out that the relationship between the two was an ex-lover. Now he doesn't know how to tell Esther. He's afraid that she will be in an unbearable shock. But Kang-hee frankly said that Esther had known the truth for a long time. This made Seok-kyung even more confused. Kang-hee returned to the dormitory and started cleaning the room. There she found a teddy bear under the sofa. Kang-hee kept reaching for it. The scene before her eyes suddenly brought back memories that she had forgotten many years ago. In an instant, the memories brought Kang-hee back to her childhood version. Kang-hee said that her teddy bear was lost on the day her mother passed away. At that moment, all the painful memories suddenly came flooding back to Kang-hee. The next morning, Kang-hee went to the funeral home to visit her mother. She looked at her mother's portrait and couldn't hold back her tears. Kang-hee suddenly remembered many years ago when her mother couldn't wait for her husband anymore. She took her back to the motel to sleep. Kang-hee woke up in the middle of the night, worried that her mother would leave her. She tied one end of the yarn to her mother's leg and the other end to her own. But the next morning, the yarn had come loose and her mother was no longer by her side. Then she witnessed her mother and Yeon-soo's father talking privately, fearing that her mother would abandon her. Kang-hee stuffed a teddy bear into Yeon-soo's father's exhaust pipe. Thinking that the accident was her fault, Kang-hee ran away from the scene. In the end, Kang-hee was found by Yeon-soo in a remote place. Perhaps the great shock made her gradually forget about this matter. Now that she remembered everything, Kang-hee could only look at her mother's portrait and cry unceasingly. Yeon-soo wanted to surprise his lover, so he secretly went to Seoul to visit Kang-hee. Unexpectedly, Kang-hee broke up with him. Seeing Kang-hee's red eyes, Yeon-soo didn't ask why. He just said that he would wait until she wanted to tell him what had happened. Kang-hee also painfully turned around and went home. She sat there looking at the teddy bear for a long time. Chun-pil dressed very nicely today. He even happily told Sung-yeon to take a photo of him as a memorial photo. Sung-yeon laughed and said that he was still young at this age. Why would he take a memorial photo? But Chun-pil argued that the memorial photo would definitely be the photo Kang-hee would look at the most, so he wanted to take one when he was still handsome. Sung-yeon took the picture and shed tears for some reason. Then Kang-hee returned to the motel. She heard her father's guitar playing in the next room. The melody was a bit nostalgic. A moment later, Kang-hee quietly entered the room and found a corner to sit down and feel it. She was in a bad mood. Chun-pil had no choice but to approach her and sincerely apologize to her for everything. Kang-hee couldn't help but cry. She asked her father why both of them decided to give birth to her. It was clear that at first the two of them had no intention of having children. Chun-pil laughed and said that he had never heard such a stupid question. He said that his band was very famous. He gave up his beloved band to return to his hometown to start a business because he wanted to dedicate his life to his wife and daughter. The thing he regretted most in life was leaving Kang-hee motherless. Kang-hee angrily said that before she was ready to accept her father's apology and before she dared to apologize, he would have to live a long life. Then she pushed the door open and left. The next day, Kang-hee made an appointment to meet Yeon-soo's mother privately to apologize. Kang-hee thought that because of her, Yeon-soo's mother had been troubled for so long. Kang-hee asked her to forgive her. Yeon-soo's mother looked around in confusion and thought that she was playing a hidden camera game. But this time, Kang-hee's attitude was extremely sincere, which surprised her. Then Kang-hee went to see Yeon-soo. Just when she wanted to say goodbye again, he interrupted and refused her offer. He said that he wanted to take the initiative to express his feelings to her once. Then he sincerely said that if she disappeared from his life, he thought he would lose himself because his life's goal was to become #1 in her heart. He had collapsed once when he couldn't follow her to Seoul 10 years ago, so he won't let this happen again. Before he could finish speaking, Yeon-soo saw Kang-hee sobbing. She told him the truth that year. That day, her mother planned to run away with his father, so she stuffed the teddy bear into his father's car exhaust pipe. That car accident was her fault. She killed her mother and his father too. She took away his complete family and made her father suffer. She was the murderer. Yeon-soo couldn't accept the information Kang-hee gave him. He cried and begged her not to say that, but Kang-hee only said that she loved him and turned around and walked away. Seeing her lover's figure leave, Yeon-soo hurriedly chased after her and held on. He hugged her tightly and said that he would still be here waiting for her to return. However, Kang-hee still resolutely turned around and walked away. Yeon-soo returned to the California California motel alone. Later, the motel's receptionist asked him to help bring Chun Pil to Seoul. The destination of the two people was the General Hospital. Director Hwang was also present there. When the nurse called Chun Pil's name, Yeon-soo was worried and followed him. The doctor gave her shocking news that Chun Pil had cancer. His condition was getting worse. If he wanted to get better, the only way was chemotherapy. When Kang-hee returned to Seoul, she went to a church. There, she confessed to God that she had killed someone. She had killed her mother and Yeon-soo's father. She had even forgotten about it for the past 20 years, and she still loved Yeon-soo. She asked if someone like her could be forgiven by God. Seok-kyung, who was with her, was surprised but didn't say anything. When they got outside, Kang-hee said she wanted to go to the police station to confess, but Seok-kyung quickly stopped her and said that what happened that year happened when she was too young. Now that the teddy bear and the car that was in the accident were burned, how could she be sure that she had done something wrong? But whether it was punishment or forgiveness, she should let Yeon-soo decide. Why did she keep avoiding him like that? At this time, Yeon-soo happened to meet Director Hwang. She told him that she had met Chun Pil 3 years ago. At that time, he had already undergone his 12th round of cancer treatment. It turned out that many years ago, Director Hwang was also a patient who had just had surgery to remove a tumor. Chul Pil and Director Hwang were both members of the Classical Film Association. They accidentally met again and happily went for a walk together. Director Hwang also wanted the two of them to become each other's guardians every time they went to the hospital, but Chun Pil shook his head and refused. He said that he did not intend to continue treatment. Director Hwang had tried to persuade him several times, but it seemed to be ineffective. Now she wanted to ask Yeon-soo to help her persuade Chun Pil. However, when he heard Yeon-soo's advice to continue treatment, Chun Pil still firmly refused. He also told Yeon-soo to absolutely not let Kang-hee know about his illness, because for so many years he had not been able to do anything for her. Now that she was happy, it was very difficult, so he did not want her to suffer more. Hearing that, Yeon-soo could only helplessly lean on Chun Pil's shoulder to comfort her. After many days of thinking, Kang-hee was determined to find Yeon-soo to talk to. Kang-hee even went to Yeon-soo's veterinary clinic to ask, but Nan-woo said Yeon-soo had gone somewhere. He did not even tell anyone where he went, but she thought he had gone for an interview. It seemed he wanted to go to Seoul to work as a veterinary researcher. Kang-hee sadly called Yeon-soo, but he was with Chun Pil, so he did not answer. On this side, Ah-rom went to see Sung-eon. She sincerely apologized for her mother's insulting words to him, but the fact that he only graduated from middle school could be changed. She had a teaching certificate and could help him prepare for his high school graduation exam. She gave him time to think and then answered later. Then she shyly left, making Sung-eon hesitate about this opportunity. Kang-hee recently went to the construction site to work but couldn't concentrate. It wasn't until the workers announced that the veterinarian had returned to Hana-yu that Kang-hee immediately stood up and ran to find Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo remembered Chun Pil's words not to tell Kang-hee about his illness because she was afraid of saying the wrong thing. Yeon-soo just avoided it and said that he himself had a lot of work. Kang-hee boredly told Seok-kyung about this. At the same time, she asked him if Esther was going to America. Seok-kyung nodded, feeling confused. After that, Seok-kyung went to the veterinary hospital to see Yeon-soo. He made up a story that Kang-hee was going to study abroad in America with Esther. Hearing that, Yeon-soo immediately got up to stop Kang-hee. Then he found and resolutely dragged Kang-hee to the police station. He asked to review the traffic accident report from more than 20 years ago. This policeman was a classmate of the two, so he agreed to help. Before there was any official information, the two began to walk and talk. Yeon-soo sincerely told her boyfriend that if it was because of her that his father was like that, she had to take care of him in his father's place. She couldn't run away. No matter what the conclusion was, she just had to hold his hand tightly. Hearing that, Kang-hee burst into tears but then smiled with relief. Yeon-soo also smiled and put a coat on Kang-hee. Then Kang-hee accidentally put her hand in her coat pocket and discovered a medical examination form. She worriedly asked Yeon-soo what happened, if he was hurt somewhere. Yeon-soo shook his head and said that it was a friend who was injured by a horse kick. Because he had experience, he went to the hospital with this guy. Kang-hee also trusted him completely. She also told him not to hide anything from her in the future. They also should not push each other away because of any difficulties. On this side, Esther went to see Director Hwang privately. It turned out that Esther wanted Director Hwang to find a replacement for her because she was considering returning to the US. However, Seok-kyung appeared and stopped her. He blamed her for running away when the fault was her husband's. He also reminded her not to abandon the baby. Esther tearfully said that he did not want her to stay in Korea as a single mother. Seok-kyung did not agree. He told her to look closely. Both her appearance, intelligence, and physical strength were attractive. She just lacked experience in choosing men. He could help her with this so that she could love and still be herself. At this time, at Hana-yu, the police gave Kang-hee the investigation report on the accident years ago. After reading it, Kang-hee discovered that the cause of the accident was due to the cars skidding and colliding in the snow, so the accident was completely unrelated to her stuffing the teddy bear into the car's exhaust pipe. When she knew this truth, Kang-hee was finally able to let go of her psychological burden. Yeon-soo also hugged his girlfriend tightly and comforted her. After that hug, Yeon-soo held Kang-hee's hand and went to meet his mother. He officially introduced her as his girlfriend. However, Yeon-soo's mother could not let go of the past. She could not accept Kang-hee even more. She said that besides the fact that Kang-hee's mother had run away with her husband, the thing that made her hate Kang-hee was because of Kang-hee's teddy bear. That year, she only spoke ill of Kang-hee's mother a little bit, but Kang-hee dared to put a teddy bear in her car's exhaust pipe. All these years, she didn't dare to drive because of the trauma. Now that all the questions in her head had answers, Kang-hee quickly knelt down and repeatedly apologized and begged for Yeon-soo's mother's forgiveness. Then she quickly left. All the memories of that year now had answers. In the snow, Kang-hee seemed to be embracing the child inside her. Shimeo apologized for saying that she was born wrong. She apologized for not being able to give herself love. She also promised that from now on, everything would get better. After returning to the motel, Kang-hee pushed open the door to her father's room and sat to one side. She suggested to her father to register Sung-eon as a householder. She wanted him to become her younger brother and have a real home. Chun-pil agreed and said that he had wanted it for a long time. Then he said that if he died, one day, she and Sung-eon should divide the property. But Kang-hee angrily refused. She told her father to spend all that money before dying. Then Kang-hee accidentally discovered a lot of medicine in Chun-pil's room. When she asked, he just vaguely answered that it was just tonic. Kang-hee asked Yeon-soo again, but he also lied that he didn't know anything. Kang-hee felt uneasy, so she went back to her room to search for information online. She discovered that all of the medicine was cancer treatment medicine. Because she was suspicious, Kang-hee followed Yeon-soo and Chun-pil the next day. She discovered that the two of them went to a nursing home. Here, a friend introduced Kang-hee to portraits of deceased people. The classmate also mentioned that these photos were taken by Kang-hee's father. He wanted to help the deceased preserve beautiful images of their life. But not long ago, Kang-hee's father handed this over to Sung-eon. This made Kang-hee extremely suspicious. Later, when she saw her father filling out an application to live here, Kang-hee strongly disagreed. She even angrily asked her father to come home immediately. Chun-pil had no choice but to tell the truth that he had cancer. Kang-hee was shocked and blamed Yeon-soo for hiding it from her. But Yeon-soo remained silent and did not explain further, but directly got in the car with Kang-hee and left. The two then returned to Seoul. Although Kang-hee acted as if nothing had happened and even ate with great appetite, her tears kept falling. She said that fish dish was sent under Ah-rom's name, but the person who actually sent it was Chun-pil. She thought it was obvious and never thanked her father. Now, when Kang-hee thought back to all the things her father had done for her, she couldn't help but burst into tears. She said that her father always looked so hateful. Then she asked her boyfriend what she would do if her father died. He quietly hugged her to comfort her, but he couldn't hold back his tears either. That night, Kang-hee kept telling Yeon-soo everything she had experienced with her father. Yeon-soo also advised her that in order to have no more regrets, she should spend more time with her father. The next day, Kang-hee returned to her house. She even smiled brightly before going into her father's room. She asked to go with her father to the hospital to take care of him while he was undergoing chemotherapy. Seeing how sad his daughter was, Chun-pil joked that she would have to wait in line. There were many people waiting to take her father there. Kang-hee laughed at the joke, but her eyes quickly turned red. She said that from now on she would no longer object to her father and Director Hwang's relationship, but Chun-pil laughed without explaining further. The next day, Director Hwang made an appointment to meet Kang-hee. She also encouraged Kang-hee to believe in the country's medical system. Kang-hee had to believe that her father would overcome his illness. Kang-hee also smiled and said that she supported the sympathetic relationship between her father and Director Hwang. That night, Kang-hee intimately dried Yeon-soo's hair. Yeon-soo's eyes were filled with tenderness. He wished that every day could be like this. Then the two talked about the nursing home that Chun-pil wanted to stay at, but Kang-hee did not agree to let him stay at the nursing home because without him, the California motel would be very empty. So the two said that they would come up with a plan to convince Chun-pil to stay there. That night, Kang-hee and Yeon-soo accidentally discovered that Sung-yeon and Ah-rom were officially in love. Then they went to the veterinary hospital and found out that Nanwoo and Hanwoo were also in the process of getting to know each other and flirting. This atmosphere filled with love made everyone extremely happy. Esther was on a blind date to find a suitable man. The matchmaker was none other than Seok-kyung. He was also secretly following them to know their progress. Then the other person left because he could not accept loving a single mother. Seok-kyung was confused and wanted to introduce Esther to someone else, but she just shook her head. She said that she would let things be natural and did not want to force herself. Seok-kyung also agreed with this idea. area. The next day, Kang Hee received news that her father was planning to sell the motel, so she drove back to Hana-yu. There, Chun Pil left a letter for the receptionist. He said that everyone should leave this motel and be free. They should find their own home. The letter from her father made Kang Hee recall the memories of her childhood here. All the memories seemed to have happened yesterday. The next day, the real estate agent also came to see the house. They said they wanted to renovate the entire motel. Kang Hee was angry and immediately chased away the guests. Then she went to the hospital to visit her father. Kang Hee looked at her father lying quietly on the hospital bed with heartache. She forced a smile and sat next to her father to ask why he wanted to sell the motel. The question made Chun Pil remember the day he confided in the receptionist. He sold this motel because he was very scared. He was afraid that he would cling to the memories here that his soul could not bear to leave. He was afraid that he wanted to continue living and would make the people who had to take care of him suffer. If he kept this house, when he died, Kang Hee would have to struggle with the unforgettable memories here. Returning to the present, Chun Pil only lied to his daughter that he was not sure if he could take care of himself. So how could he take care of the motel? Kang Hee did not agree. She proposed to Chul Pil that she take over the motel. She would renovate it into a nursing home so that he could stay there. Hearing her daughter's sincere words, Chun Pil happily agreed. From that day on, Kang Hee threw herself into designing the nursing home. She worked day and night, hoping to complete it as soon as possible. While preparing the plan to build the nursing home, the Boomerang Motel project that Kang Hee was in charge of was completed. Seok-kyung confessed that their dating at that time was actually because he took advantage of her. Kang Hee laughed and said that she had already realized that he didn't like her, but Esther, an outsider like her, could see it clearly. But Seok-kyung and Esther just couldn't accept their feelings for each other. The next day, Seok-kyung and director Hwang's company held a grand opening ceremony for the new motel. Kang Hee was happy and moved to see the project she was managing finally completed. After this event, the neighbors who had been gossiping about Kang Hee also began to have a different view of her. They also said that Kang Hee was very filial and agile. They praised Chun Pil for raising a wonderful daughter. Kang Hee suddenly felt emotional. She felt like she had just traveled a long way and was now returning home. The friends who had teased Kang Hee also came to the opening party. They sincerely praised the architectural project and apologized to her for the bad things in the past. That day was Christmas and also Chun Pil's birthday. Kang Hee and her friends happily held a party to celebrate him. In the warm and joyful atmosphere, Chun Pil slipped and fell to the ground. Everyone was panicking, afraid that something had happened to him. After that, Chul Pil sincerely thanked the precious people in his life, especially his son and daughter, who were the most precious gift. Hearing that, Kang Hee hoped that her father could always be happy like today in the future. Then, while the other members watched the snow falling outside the window, Kang Hee pulled Yeon-soo to the backyard and imitated him by eating 10 snowflakes. She secretly wished to be with her first love for the rest of her life. Then, under the white snow, the two warmly hugged each other and gave each other a sweet kiss. The movie ends here. Thank you for your attention and watching. Goodbye, and see you again.